Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Now, if you're joining us today, you're probably on the hunt for that holy grail of real estate investing. You know the one, finding a high-yield, low-hassle asset right in the middle of an emerging urban market. And look, it can feel a bit like searching for a needle in a haystack, right? Well, today we're going to unpack a highly specific opportunity that aims to solve that exact puzzle. We are zooming in on 207 Parkview Avenue. It's a purpose-built asset in Indianapolis that perfectly illustrates some massive, really exciting shifts happening in urban real estate right now. Here is our quick roadmap for today. We'll start macro and get micro. 1. The Near Eastside boom. 2. A spotlight on 207 Parkview Ave. 3. The financial snapshot. 4. New build versus old inventory. And finally, number 5, the bottom line. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The Near Eastside boom. Let's look at the submarket context.
So the Near East Side of Indy is just incredibly well positioned. I mean, we're talking about being less than 2 miles from Monument Circle, which is literally the absolute heart of downtown. Plus, it's super close to the Bottleworks District. If you know Indy, you know Bottleworks is this massive cultural and entertainment anchor that draws huge crowds. Throw in really quick access to I-70 and a massive influx of ongoing public and private reinvestment, and well, you've got a submarket that is just incredibly desirable, especially for young professionals and renters who want all that urban convenience, but without paying the ultra-premium downtown price tags.
And what's happening here brilliantly illustrates a core economic concept that's driving this entire market: urban spillover. Basically, this is what happens when housing demand and revitalization efforts from neighboring, way more expensive areas literally spill over into the adjacent, more affordable neighborhood. It's a domino effect. On the Near East Side, we are seeing direct demand pushing eastward from rapidly appreciating spots like Windsor Park and Holy Cross. As those areas price out certain renters, and buyers for that matter, that economic energy flows directly into the Near East Side. It creates a massive tailwind for investors who manage to get in early.
Moving on to Section 2, Spotlight on 207 Parkview Avenue.
Let's actually look at the property. What makes 207 Parkview stand out in a historic neighborhood is that it's a rare, brand-new construction duplex. It's purpose-built specifically with investors in mind. You know, instead of taking a 100-year-old home and trying to awkwardly adapt it for modern renters, this was designed from the ground up to absolutely maximize tenant appeal and, just as importantly, minimize landlord headaches. Diving into the actual floor plan, we're looking at 2 bedrooms and 2 full bathrooms per unit, with 936 square feet of living space on each side. Now, if you track rental trends at all, you already know that a true 2-bed, 2-bath layout is a massive, massive draw for modern tenants. It's perfectly set up for roommates who each want their own private bathroom, or maybe a couple who really needs a dedicated home office. It is just an incredibly efficient and highly rentable layout. All right, Section 3, the financial snapshot. Time to look at the hard numbers. The purchase price for this entire duplex is $375,000. Think about that for a second. For a fully turnkey, brand new construction asset that gives you 2 separate revenue-generating units, that is a highly competitive entry point, especially when you remember how close we are to downtown Indianapolis. Now, stacked up against that $375,000 purchase price, the projected gross monthly rent is $3,022. So roughly $1,511 per unit. This immediately establishes a really strong gross income potential. You are pushing right up close to that coveted 1% rule right out of the gate, and again, this is on a brand new build. But here is the absolute hook for investors. Based on the financial modeling and our source data, this property offers an estimated cash-on-cash return ranging from 9.1% all the way up to a maximum of 10.8%. Look, in today's interest rate environment, finding double-digit yield on a completely turnkey, zero-rehab asset, that is incredibly difficult to pull off. Let's actually walk through exactly how that yield is achieved with a quick itemized breakdown of the monthly cash flow. We start at the top with our $3,022 in gross monthly income. Assuming a standard 25% down payment, your estimated mortgage principal and interest is going to take out $1,643. Then, you subtract another $577 to cover your taxes, insurance, and an 8% property management fee. Finally, you allocate $251 for maintenance and vacancy reserves because we always plan for the unexpected, and that leaves you with an estimated net positive monthly cash flow of $607. It's clean, it's predictable, and every dollar is fully accounted for.
Section 4, New build versus old inventory.
When you invest in a neighborhood like this, you generally have 2 paths. You could buy a typical 1910 build, and hey,
They're charming, for sure, but they are very often hiding a whole host of high-maintenance nightmares behind those historic walls. Or you target a newer, top-of-market development like Parkview, which completely meets the demand for modern living standards without all the late-night plumbing calls.
This is absolutely crucial to understand, the hidden capital expenditure risks. If you buy legacy stock, stuff built between 1890 and 1927, you are routinely dealing with high ongoing maintenance costs, terrible energy efficiency, which skyrockets your tenants' utility bills, and layouts that are just functionally obsolete. I mean, nobody today wants a 3-bedroom house with only 1 bathroom. Contrast that with 207 Parkview. Because it's new construction, you get significantly lower maintenance, high energy efficiency, which, by the way, keeps tenants super happy and wanting to stay, plus modern builder warranties and materials that are literally chosen for long-term durability.
And look, the local comparative market analysis data backs this up perfectly. Older legacy stock, like the properties here on East 12th and East Washington that were built back in the 1890s and 1900s, they command noticeably lower rents, usually hovering around $950 to $1,675. But then you look at newer builds from recent years, like the ones on East 10th and North Hamilton, they are commanding top-of-market rental premiums, fetching anywhere from $1,750 all the way to $2,500. Tenants are actively voting with their wallets, and they are overwhelmingly choosing newer, more efficient spaces.
Which brings us to Section 5, the bottom line.
Ultimately, this property really acts as a perfect solution to the modern investor's dilemma. It beautifully balances a high yield potential, up to that 10.8% cash-on-cash return we talked about, with exceptionally low hassle. It's completely turnkey, so your cash flow isn't getting eaten alive by unexpected repairs. The energy efficiency lowers utility costs, which equals better tenant retention, and most importantly, it sits right in the path of progress, directly capitalizing on those urban spillover tailwinds flowing in from Windsor Park and Holy Cross.
So I want to leave you with the final thought to chew on today. With urban spillover visibly accelerating across the Near East Side, are you going to miss out on one of the last remaining pockets of affordable, developable land right near the urban core? You know, market timing and scarcity are incredibly powerful forces. Understanding all this data is just the first step, but how you choose to act on it is what makes all the difference. Thanks so much for diving into this explainer with me today, and as always, keep learning.